What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another deck and battle video for you guys. And this time it's actually kind of a special video. If you didn't watch any of the World Championship coverage that happened recently, Talonflame Greninja BREAK actually got second place at, at Worlds this year in the Masters division. Um, and it's a little bit unexpected too, since Greninja kind of performed a little underwhelming at Nationals. So I don't think a lot of people were expecting to see Greninja do this well. But two Greninja Talonflame decks actually made it into top 8 of Worlds. So I wanted to take a look at this deck and kind of tweak it for the post-rotation format that we have here. So a lot of you are probably already familiar with Greninja, but for those who may not be, you probably see this weird evolution line we have here. It's a 3-4-4-3 line. You typically don't see anything like that in other decks, but the reason for it is actually Frogadier here. So it has the attack Water Duplicate, search your deck for up to 3 Frogadier and put them onto your bench. So this is really cool. It lets us get around having to manually evolve Froakies. So on the second turn of the game, or your first turn if you go second and have Wally, you can actually get out 4 Frogadiers in total and really start developing your board a lot quicker as opposed to evolving the traditional route. So we also play 4 Greninja. He's going to be the main attacker of the deck. It has the attack Shadow Stitching, 40 damage for a colorless. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon has no abilities. So this is really nice for a number of things. In the mirror match, it's especially powerful. I think whoever gets off the first Shadow Stitching is at a huge advantage because it blocks the Break's ability. And there's other situations too, like it can prevent your opponent from playing down Shaman EX and using its ability or just other abilities that they might find handy. And then it also has the attack Moonlight Slash, 60 plus 20 more if you return a water energy from Greninja to your hand. So this is really nice. 1 energy for 80 is a decent damage to energy ratio. And it also has synergy with the Break as well. And like I said, this is post-rotation. So unfortunately, the XY Greninja isn't in the format anymore, so we do have to max these out. But he's kind of the main attacker of the deck this whole time anyway, so it's not a huge loss. And then we have Greninja BREAK, kind of the heart of the deck, the main attacker. Or actually, he's not really an attacker, he just has an ability. But it's a Giant Water Shuriken. Once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a water energy from your hand and put 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is good for a number of reasons. Like we said, it has synergy with the regular Greninja. You can do damage with Moonlight Slash and bounce the energy back to your hand to use again for this ability on the following turn. But if you get 2 of these Greninja breaks in play, it can be a little bit overwhelming for your opponent. You can take knockouts on Shamans in a single turn on the bench, but then also even against like EX decks, let's say they have a Pokemon with 180 hit points. You can Giant Water Shuriken, retreat into your other Greninja break, Giant Water Shuriken, and then Moonlight Slash for the knockout. So you can kind of out of nowhere take big knockouts on EXs. And Greninja is just so strong against non-EX decks as well. Like typical Stage 1, Stage 2 evolution-based decks, Greninja is just so good because it can, with this ability, pick off all of the unevolved Pokemon so easily. So a lot of people have been familiar with Greninja, but really the new thing about this deck that I think kind of took it to the top finishes that it had was going to be Talonflame. So Talonflame's a new Pokemon from Steam Siege. It's Stage 2, but we're actually not running any Fletchlings or Fletchinders. And the reason for that is its ability Gale Wings. If this Pokemon is in your hand when you are setting up to play, you may put it face down as your active Pokemon. So if you notice, we play 4 of these Talonflames and only 3 Froakies. 3 Froakie are the only basics in the entire deck. So you actually have a higher chance of starting with Talonflame as your lead Pokemon every game. So this is just so strong because Greninja already barely didn't play any basics. Sometimes they played Jirachi, sometimes they played Octillery. But generally speaking, their base count was usually only around 4 or 5. But with this, we've cut the 1 Froakie just because it's not completely necessary all of the time anyways. And we have these 4 Talonflames, and it's really good to start with this guy. because of its attack Aero Blitz. So for 40 damage for a colorless, you search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. So this is really strong just because Greninja is kind of a slower deck. You can wall behind this big 130 hit point Pokemon and essentially double computer search every turn until you're set up to the point that you want to be. And has free retreat too, which is really nice. So there's not enough good things I could say about this card. This is actually one of my favorite cards from Steam Siege. So really glad that we are getting to actually test it out in a deck. And that's actually it for the Pokemon line. The rest is just going to be supporters, trainer cards and energy. So for the supporters, we're playing 4 Professor Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7. 4 N, each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws cards equal to their prizes. So kind of the 2 staple draw cards in the format. We're going to max both these out since we're not playing Shaman or Octillery or anything else to supplement our draw power. We're also playing 1 Ace Trainer. This is kind of a more unusual draw card. So you can play this card only if your opponent has taken more prizes than you. So if you're losing, each player shuffles his or her hand into their deck, draws 6 cards. You draw 6 cards and your opponent draws 3. So more often than not, Greninja is the slower deck in a match. Typically your opponents will take prizes before you ever do. So this is really good because even if they take 1 knockout, you can put them down at 3 cards. And since Greninja is so good at playing from behind, you can spread damage all on your opponent's board without taking knockouts and abuse Ace Trainer for a large portion of the game too. We're still maxing out N. N is just generally the better card. But there's going to be a lot of situations where Ace Trainer is actually more powerful, especially in the early turns of the game. So we're also playing 1 Wally. Search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon. Executing EX, you can play Wally on the first turn the Pokemon was benched, or the turn it evolves. So Wally is really good because if you go second, you can actually sometimes get out Wally on a Frogadier, on a Froakie, get Frogadier, and start using water duplicates right away. But there's other cool things too, like let's say you don't actually start with a Froakie and you just have your Talonflame, you can Aero Blitz for a Froakie and a Wally, so that way next turn you are guaranteed to start using water duplicates. But then there's also other situations too where if your only break it gets knocked out and you just have a Frogadier in play, you can evolve into Greninja and then Wally into another break. So it just helps keep streaming all of your attackers. We're playing 1 Lysander. This is actually kind of a card some Greninja players don't even run. So switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So typically we are sniping damage and can take knockouts on the bench without Lysander, but with Garbodor kind of going unchecked in this post-rotation format, where we don't have Startling Megaphone or Zerosic, we're going to need a way to clean up knockouts against Garbodor-based decks. And this is going to be our only way to actually knock out Garbodors and Trubbish as well. So I think 1 is very good for this post-rotation format. Okay, and then just 1 Fisherman to round out our supporters. So put 4 basic energy cards from your discard into your hand. So we're discarding all this energy for Giant Water Shuriken, and Fisherman just kind of helps us reuse all of these energy. That way we never run out. Okay, then 4 versus Seeker to reuse all of our supporters the max amount of times. For our Stadium card, we're actually going to be playing 3 Rough Seas, so 1 during each player's turn. That player may heal 30 from each of their water or lightning Pokemon. So we have pretty much all water attackers other than the Talonflame, so Rough Seas has obvious synergy. I'm actually a bit undecided on how much I like Rough Seas post-rotation, just because Trevenant is no longer in the format. I think that was kind of one of the big cards that Rough Seas really helped counter. Right now, the post-rotation format is kind of undefined, so it's hard to say if the decks are going to be more based around 1-hit knockouts or 2-hit knockouts at this point. If they turn into 1-hit knockouts, I think it might be worthwhile to replace Rough Seas with something else. But if the format remains something where it's a lot of 2-hit knockouts, then Rough Seas is probably the go-to stadium. Okay, so for our search cards, we have 4 Dive Ball. Search your deck for a water Pokemon. reveal, put it into your hand. This is so strong because all of our Pokemon are Talonflame, and after the first turn, or all of our Pokemon are water Pokemon other than Talonflame. And so so yeah, this basically is a free Ultra Ball for our whole deck. There's not really a situation most of the time where you want to search out a Talonflame, since you can't use it after the first turn anyways. So this is just such a good card. We definitely want to max this out. Playing 2 Level Ball, search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 hit points or less, reveal it and put it into your hand. So this is just helps ensure that we get Froakies down and Frogadiers down in the early turns when we need them. And then we're also playing 1 Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for any Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand. This is good because we can discard Talonflames in the late game. Obviously search out Pokemon when we want them, but also when I play Greninja, I typically find that in the later games or the later turns of the game, the deck still has a decent amount of supporters left. So I like to play Ultra Ball, maybe discard a couple of supporters we may not want to see again. Because most decks run Shaman and max out Ultra Ball, so they typically don't have this huge surplus of supporters left in the deck in the late turns. So it can kind of help thin out your deck a little bit. So I dig the 1 Ultra Ball. You can maybe even bump it up to 2 if you really want, but I like the 1 as of now. So we're playing 1 town map, turn all of your prize cards face up. So this is typically one of those luxury fringe cards that a lot of decks really don't see a particular benefit from more than others. But Greninja is one of the few I do think can abuse this, just because you can take knockouts without attacking. It makes town map very strong. So if you play this, you see you have some stuff prized that you could use to take a knockout on the active. Maybe you can Giant Water Shuriken, take a knockout on a cheap prize elsewhere, and grab an energy or grab whatever you need out of your prizes, and you still haven't attacked yet, so you can still play that card you get from your prizes that turn. So that's why I think Town Map is really strong. If you want to cut it for something else, I would understand, but I've always enjoyed Town Map when I play Greninja. Okay, 2 Super Odd. So shuffle 3 of any Pokemon or basic energies from your discard into your deck. So we really just want to make sure we have a steady stream of Greninjas the entire game. So that's why we're playing 2 of these guys, just to help ensure that we constantly have Greninjas in play. Okay, and the last of our trainer cards is going to be 4 Bursting Balloon. So you discard this tool card at the end of your opponent's next turn, but if the Pokemon it's attached to is your active Pokemon, and your opponent damages it with an attack, they take 6 damage counters, which is really powerful. It really helps with the math in a lot of situations. So if your opponent's an EX and they attack into you, well, guess what? That will typically put them down to about 110 or 120 hit points, and that's just a Giant Water Shuriken and a Moonlight Slash away from knockout, or 2 Giant Water Shurikens. It's also really good because, like we said, Greninja is typically a slower deck, so it can help punish your opponent for getting a little bit aggressive. So let's say you have a Frogadier on your second turn and you want to use water duplicates. Well, throw this Bursting Balloon down onto your Frogadier, and it's kind of like telling your opponent, hey, I'm going to punish you for being so aggressive. You can either slow your pace down to mine, or you're going to get hurt for being so aggressive and taking these early knockouts. So Bursting Balloon is a great card, especially with Muscle Band being rotated. I think a lot of Greninja players previously opted between Bursting Balloon and Muscle Band, but now Balloon I think is definitely the best choice in the post-rotation format. And this is also the tool that the players at Worlds used in their lists as well. Okay, and then we just have 8 basic water energy, pretty self-explanatory, but then we have 1 splash energy. So splash energy is a cool special energy. When it's attached to a water Pokemon and that Pokemon gets knocked out, you actually return the entire evolution line to your hand. So this is really good because it helps us keep streaming these Greninjas like I was talking about. I think it's interesting, one of the players at Worlds actually ran 2 in their list. I believe it was the player who got second. He ran 2 in his list, the other ran 0. I've always liked Splash Energy in Greninja. I know it's been an unpopular opinion until now, probably. But, so yeah, I definitely like Splash Energy in the list, at least 1. You don't want to play too many though, like 4 or anything, just because it starts hurting your consistency for having energy to use Water Shuriken and attack with Talonflame as well. But yeah, guys, so that is the list that we're going to be trying out here. I'm going to switch over to the battle video. That way you can actually see how this looks in action, and I'm going to switch over to there, okay? All right, guys, so it looks like we found ourselves a game, and we did lose the coin flip, which usually isn't fun, but if we do start with Talonflame, which we do, which is great, we can actually attack on our first turn, so it's actually not the worst thing in the world with this deck. You would normally think, oh, this is a slow deck, so we really need to go first, but if you lose the coin flip, it's not that bad. So it's like there is a Zorua and a Darkrai. Only thing is, this Zorua is from XY, I believe, and he did play Battle Compressor, so unfortunately our opponent is playing some stuff from the current Worlds format, not the post-rotation format. So you might see some other shenanigans that we're not expecting to see in the coming format, but hopefully it won't be too big a deal here. So I'm just going to set up kind of a dangerous thing just because Greninja loves to pick off Shamans for easy prizes. So we'll see if that comes back to bite our opponent. But so far he's having a decent turn. He has Fighting Fury Belt down on Darkrai, Floatstone on the Zorua, Dark Energy. Okay, and just pass. So that is actually not too bad. And here I'm debating, do I want to go for the Froakie or go for a Frogadier, but we should probably just get Froakie just in case he does get a knockout on one of our bench Froakies. We do want to have a backup one. Here we're just checking to see what's prized. Looks like we do have a Greninja Break prize, but the rest of our line is there, so that's not too bad. And here we'll just use Aero Blitz. Do 40 damage to get any 2 cards out of our deck, so probably get a Frogadier and probably a supporter for the following turn if I had to guess. So I guess that seems okay to me. Okay, so a Fighting Fury Belt coming down, and I would love to have Startling Megaphone in this format, just because our opponent has tools everywhere. This is ridiculous. So our opponent definitely is having a pretty good setup so far. He has the Floatstone on his Zoroark, so he will be able to stand in and retreat to whatever attacker he chooses. Here we're just going to see Oblivion Wing for 40, which is okay with me. So here we're going to do Frogadier. And here I have kind of an interesting decision. Do I want to play the N and try to get a Burst Balloon, or the only thing is that might risk the chance of drawing into a Frogadier. So I think I'd rather just go for the 3 Frogadier. Our opponent will more than likely take a knockout on us this next turn, so we can just end them down to a lower hand size afterwards. So let's see what he opts to do. Okay, so he grabs Sycamore. Okay, another max elixir come down. Darkrai is starting to get into a dangerous territory as far as damage. Yeah, so here he's going to do Dark Pulse. It does 20 for every, well, 20 plus 20 more for every Dark Energy on his field. So 150, so Darkrai is definitely going to be putting some pressure on us. And fortunately, he does get a Fighting Fury Belt down on that Shaman. That is kind of a pain for us, just because it'll now take 3 Water Shurikens to knock this thing out. But here we'll use Dive Ball, grab ourselves a Greninja. Okay, and well, we can probably attach and then hopefully draw a Burst Balloon off this end. And here I'd almost rather see a Talonflame attack, just because we won't really have Greninja for next turn. Yeah, and I definitely like that play here. We definitely want to get some breaks into play, because once we get our breaks into play, we'll be able to really put some pressure on here. So probably grab ourselves, well, if he knocks out I think grabbing a break might be a little dangerous. I think a dive ball actually might be better, because if he knocks out a... Yeah, there we go. Because if he knocks out our bench Greninja, the break is worthless, whereas the dive ball will give us the option to get the break, or if he knocks out the Greninja, we can grab another Greninja. So I definitely like that. So here, another Max Flixer and an attachment for turn. So Darkrai is doing a ridiculous amount of damage now. I think he's doing, what is it, like 170 or 180? Oh, 190, yeah. So Talonflame is going to go down, but it's okay. This turn we can actually start getting some damage with our breaks into play. So here we can Dive Ball for the Greninja Break. And we'll be able to use Giant Water Shuriken here. We can discard that water from hand and put 6 damage counters on the field. You know, I'm not sure if it matters just because our opponent can retreat to whoever. So probably just do it to the active. That seems fine to me. Let's see, it looks like I was debating there. Do I want to go for the benched one or the active? But again, I'm not sure if it really matters too much. So here, I'm thinking about attaching Burst Balloon to the active. I'm not sure if I like that though. I would almost rather see it, yeah, there we go. I'd almost rather see it on that one. So we can Super Rod, get back some of that stuff that we had to discard. Maybe like a Water, a Frogadier, and a Froakie or something. I guess that seems okay. I guess I'm just trying to optimize our chances of hitting a Water off of this end, or Sycamore, whichever we opt to do. But Sycamore seems fine to me. And we do hit it, which is really nice. So we can retreat. This way we will be saving our break from a knockout. And we could potentially attach a bursting balloon to it, just in case. But it's hard to say. It really depends on if we think our opponent has a Lysander or not. So it's hard to say what we should do there. But here we'll just Moonlight Slash for 80, putting that Darkrai up to 140. Unfortunately, these Fighting Fury Belts really are a pain. Oh, and the Startling Megaphone, that is so annoying. Another card that if our opponent was playing post-rotation, we wouldn't have to worry about. So that is definitely frustrating, because now we will actually need another break in order to take a knockout this turn. And actually, I don't think I should have put a bursting balloon there. I think I got a little aggressive. I think we should do the same thing we just did. You know, use Giant Water Shuriken, then retreat, and use the attack with the other Greninja, saving our break from damage. So, yeah, you can really see how these Fighting Fury Belts are really starting to become a pain here. Yeah, I guess I'm debating if I want to put it on the benched one or on the active. I can't knock out either one, but it will put this bench one very close to actually being knocked out here. But again, I definitely think we should have attached the Burst Balloon to the other Greninja and attacked with it this turn. Oh, dear lord. But we don't even have a Water Energy, so maybe it was actually a good thing that we attached to this active one, since we will be able to get off and attack this turn. Maybe in hindsight, we could have Giant Water Shuriken and Shadow Stitching the active one. That would have forced him to discard his energy to retreat, which would have actually, I think, saved us from a knockout, if I'm not mistaken. 20, 40, 60, 800. Yeah, I think that would have saved us. I could be wrong. My math might be really horrible right now. Actually, no, I don't think it would have saved us in hindsight. So let's see, Super Rod, probably want to get back some breaks. Yeah, we definitely want to grab the break, and then maybe a Frogadier? I don't know. That seems okay to me, I guess. So there's a bunch that we really need here this turn. Okay, okay, luckily we do get another Frogadier. And we can dive ball and get another Froakie, or we could just grab, or just save it to grab a Greninja for the following turn. Here, it looks like I'm kind of debating on that too. Oh, and here, I think I may have been going for a Froakie, but we don't have any more in our deck, actually. I probably just miscounted some resources when deciding what to Super Rod. So that's a little unfortunate, but we do have the Greninja for next turn, so it's not the end of the world. And we will be able to evolve into Greninja and use Wally at the same time. So let's see. That seems fine. We can get Froakie and a Water Energy. Cool. That way we will have an energy to attach to our Greninja and also want to use Giant Water Shuriken with too. And we see a second startling Megaphone. This is insane. So our opponent definitely is in a good spot. They're at 1 prize to our 4, so we're really going to need a lot to pull out a win here. We need to start taking some energy off our opponent's field. I mean, we're going to be able to knock out this Darkrai this turn regardless, which is nice. So here we can Wally, grab Greninja Break, and luckily none of his other attackers can really do anything to us. Zork's a very poor attacker without a bench size, and Baby Veltal can max out at 110. So I think we're in a good spot here because we can Giant Water Shuriken and put 6 damage counters onto the Shaman EX. And we really need to end our opponent here, I think. Oh no, we already played Wally, so we won't be able to do that. Maybe in hindsight that would have been a little bit better if we had End instead of the... Well, no, because we needed to get the damage down onto that Shaman. So I guess that was probably the right play here. And unfortunately, our opponent does have a Darkrai ready to go. It doesn't have energy on it, luckily. Okay, so there's one. So we really need to prevent our opponent from getting another energy here. So we can Giant Water Shuriken, put 6 damage counters on the Shaman, and we can potentially, I think, just Versus Seeker for Lysander for game. Oh, but it's not in our discard. That's so bad. Alright, we do have N, and we do have this Rough Seas to help us out too. So we can end our opponent and put them down at a 1-card hand. We will only get 2 cards, but we need to really prevent our opponent from getting an energy here. Because if they get this energy, they're going to win. If they don't, we will probably win unless they hit us with a Sky Return. So, and probably just a Shadow Stitching just to prevent our opponent from doing any Shaman shenanigans. Oh, and they have the Dark Energy. Oh, man. And here our opponent just says GG. So we're going to see a Dark Pulse for 180. Oh god, we were so close. We almost came back there. I would argue that if this was post-rotation, we would have had a better shot here. We would have had our own startling Megaphones and things of that nature, and the other Greninja to add additional damage. So I do think if probably this was post-rotation, we may have been able to pull out a win here against the Dark Toolbox deck. But nevertheless, guys, definitely a really good game, really close. I always like games like that. Even if you don't win, it's still fun. But yeah, guys, that is the Talonflame Greninja Break deck. I definitely like this version of Greninja. I think it's one that will still be good even once the post-rotation officially hits. And yeah, I really like it. So, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch at rarecandytcg.com. We're actually doing a sale right now. There's only 1 week left on it, but certain items are 10% off. So definitely go in there and check it out. See if there's something you want to pick up and help support the channel. It would mean a lot to us. But with that, guys, I appreciate you watching, and we will see you for the next one, okay?